And it's the one reason to be optimistic about the world is that every new child is essentially a lottery ticket for humanity on the next Einstein or the next Bohr or Fermi or someone who can create a breakthrough that will benefit all of humanity. Because ideas and the output from ideas in an interconnected world are nonlinear. One person can literally improve the standard of living or the health and well-being for everybody. One person might, who's born tomorrow, might figure out how to get us all to immortality or to gene therapy or to beating cancer or to building lighter weight rockets or all kinds of things. So every single person who is born, if we can help them get to their maximum creativity, can actually create abundance for everybody. And that's sort of the way out of the classic Malthusian trap. You always the Malthusian trap was that we're going to grow so much so that we all consume the resources. But instead, what we always do is we grow our knowledge, and by growing our knowledge, we change the definition of what resources are, and we actually increase the resources available to us faster than we consume them.
Yeah, and obviously the historical fact is that as the population of the planet has increased, so has the standard of living, inexorably and for everyone. So every time you get modern Malthusians who say we need to stop the population at X level, we need to prevent cities from getting too large, and so on and so forth. What we've found is that over the centuries now, centuries this has been going on, things have nevertheless gotten better. We've found cures to disease. We've found ways to support people on ever smaller pockets of land. We've found ways to feed more people using less resources over time per unit person. So there's every reason to be optimistic. Not even every reason. There's every good explanation we have about what it takes in order to support more people. It tells us that the amount of people on the planet is nowhere near its maximum limit. And in fact, of course, we don't have a limit. We're not limited to the planet. Eventually, we'll be able to move out from here and occupy the rest of intergalactic space.
Yeah, to some extent, we're already living in a biosphere. I mean, the carrying capacity of the Earth as hunter-gatherers is probably like 5 million people or thereabouts. We're already living in a very artificial environment that we've created for ourselves. Now, obviously, the challenge here is to like do that in such a way that we actually, survive long enough on this planet to either terraform it or to create the next one, the next one. But so far it hasn't been so bad.
I'd like to reorient the emphasis a bit, rather than thinking about, like, when we look in the rearview mirror at history, we look at, like, Einstein and Fleming and John Snow and Pasteur as these amazing discoverers or inventors. I happen to think that there's just a continuum between what we like to talk about as discovery versus invention, and they're really all part of the same thing. And so we think, oh, there's these rare people, and we use the label geniuses. But actually, a lot of the research on what people can learn suggests that the people aren't rare, it's the conditions in which they got to maybe obsessively acquire skill that are rare. And in fact, when you look at those conditions, they're incredibly rare. And often certain people who kind of end up looking like they were obsessive about certain things, they in fact had mentors, and they obsessively created the conditions in which they could continue to learn. So it was a kind of a virtuous cycle. And so what we actually need is to create rare conditions. And then rather than thinking about knowledge, think about tools that people with incredible amounts of skill that they've grown can use. Because, what did Einstein need to do? He needed to forget the knowledge of his forebears and look afresh at the Michelson-Morley experiment, and then be good at using some mathematical tools, and then invent a new model to explain the data.